We live in crazy times because this just might change streaming amps forever. But should you even care? Crazy times we live in when you can get a touch screen streaming amplifier for less than $700 when they're coming in at $3,000 and $2,000. However, all that glitters is not gold, and even though this thing is a killer deal, the Weme Amp Ultra, it falls short and sometimes flat on its face in certain situations, but shockingly destroys its much more expensive competition in other places. But you're going to want to watch this video because none of these products, although they're awesome, may be the right product for you, and there's something that nobody is really talking about when it comes to streaming amplifiers with a screen. Power ratings. This is where it gets really interesting, and this is, well, where the Weme Amp Ultra falls flat on its face. It claims to make, I believe, 100 watts into 4 ohm speakers. However, anecdotally, I could max this thing out, and I could barely get listening levels into 90 dB, which is very loud. The RuArc R610 makes 75 watts per channel, and I had no problem driving the same speakers into the low 90 dB range, which is loud. Remember, that's loud. And out of all the amplifiers that could destroy a speaker, well, the Evo 150 could do just that without breaking a sweat. It puts out a monumental amount of power. The Weme may claim 100 watts, but if it does put out 100 watts, well, I've got a bridge to sell you in the swampland. When it comes to screens, well, they're all in color. And the most expensive streaming amplifier has the biggest screen, and then the Weme has the smallest screen. But they're good. If you want to support the channel and get a killer deal on one of the cheap Audioman t-shirts, they're 40% off. The problem is I only have them in medium and XL right now. Discount code in the description, but it's CamFam2. I will link the t-shirt if you want to get one and you're an XL or medium. Well, there's never been a better time. Prices. Well, they couldn't be more different. The Evo 150 is coming in at a $3,300 US right now, which is quite expensive. Not saying it's not worth it, because we're going to get into it later, and there is a lot to like about the Evo 150. Go find one of those 6 months same as cash deals, because $3,300 is expensive. I just bought a motorcycle, and it was less than that. Coming in at $1,900 is the RuArc R610, which again is expensive. You can go buy a riding lawnmower for that, and they're probably getting ready to go on sale too, so you can probably get a heck of a deal on a high quality riding lawnmower. Make sure you buy it at the end of summer. And the Weme Amp Ultra is coming in at $530. I thought it was more expensive than that. I thought it was $600 and something. Anyway, $530, which is very affordable compared to the other two, and actually kind of affordable period for an integrated streaming amplifier with a screen that nobody else can compete with it, because there's no other integrated amplifiers with screens that are this cheap. $530. One thing that I always try to emphasize is the software, especially when you're dealing with a streaming amplifier. Well, it's pretty much the only time I talk about software. Anyway, software is really important. Weme has been making software updates for the last 4 years, and it's significantly better than it was when you first started out. They unlock different features, and not insignificant features, but room correction, parametric EQs, all sorts of stuff. So when it comes to software feature set, the most inexpensive streamer on this list is actually the best streamer on this list. StreamMagic is the software that Cambridge Audio uses, and there was a big update recently because this thing is snappy. As soon as you click on something, well, it does what you tell it to do. There's no lag at all. It's also got a bit of an upgraded feel with the UI. Looks a little bit better than it used to. They're also updating things like EQ and integrating Amazon Music recently. I'm not nearly as familiar with RuArc, but I only interacted with RuArc through Tidal Connect, which is where you just use the Tidal app on your phone, click a button, and then it gets beamed to whatever device you're using. So Weem's got this thing locked down as far as feature sets, but I think Stream Magic has this thing locked down as far as intent to music in your ears. And even with fewer features than the cheaper Weem Ultra, it definitely feels like the most refined software experience. The Evo 150 has, well, the most connections available on the back, the most premium connections on the back, and it should at $3,300. It also has preamp outputs. The RuArc R610 also has preamp outputs. The Weem Amp Ultra does not have preamp outputs, and I think that's a huge mistake. There is a bit of a workaround, but you have to do USB output of the Weem Amp Ultra into an external DAC, and then that external DAC into whatever amplifier you have. With the Evo 150 and with the RuArc R610, if you want a different sound, if you want a different amplifier, if you want more power, you have the option because you have preamp outputs. So, in a way, you can get the R610 from RuArc, be up and running, and then if you want to add a beefy amplifier later, you certainly can. Not so with the Weem. And frankly, it's the one that actually needs to be able to hook up to an external amplifier. All of them have options to input different digital inputs and phono stages, but if you got a lot of stuff to hook up to this thing, well, it doesn't take a audio engineer to realize that the Evo 150 is probably the way to go. Also has XLR inputs for all of your balanced audio needs. Weem sounds really good. It's smooth, laid back, and reminds me of some of the receivers that had a Wolfson DAC or a Burr Brown DAC. Cuts the edges off, makes everything sound good, but not everything sounds detailed. The Evo 150, you're going to hear everything about your music, and I don't believe is colored in any way. The Cambridge is definitely going to resolve the most detail out of either one of these amps. Probably couldn't accurately choose which amplifier was running blindfolded if I was comparing the Weem Amp Ultra to the R610 until you turned it up. Then I could definitely hear a difference. These amps are all cool in their own way, but they all have a bit of a different X factor, or that intangible thing. The RuArc is all about the looks and the vintage vibe and the way that you control it. Completely different than anything else out there. And I love it, and I enjoy looking at it. The Evo 150, I think its X factor is also its looks, but when you combine that with the snappy Stream Magic software, the brutal amount of power and detail retrieval, and plus they did a collaboration with DeLorean, which is super cool. It's got magnetic sides so you can change the way it looks. I wish more hi-fi companies were taking a page out of Cambridge's book and giving them removable sides, although I still have that underlying fear that at some point this thing's going to turn into a robot and kill me. Weem's X Factor, I think, is the software. Crazy options you have with room correction, parametric, EQ, put things in mono, and I guess the price. I will tell you what though, it didn't really occur to me just how small the Weem screen was until I compared it to the RuArc and the Stream Magic all going at the same time. If you have bad eyesight but a big wallet, get the Evo, because you can at least see that one across the room. In a race to basically say the Weem Amp Ultra is some type of game-changing piece of hi-fi electronica, I don't think we're asking the right question. I think the right question is, do we want a streaming amplifier? Because they're super convenient. You don't have any RCA connections unless you're hooking up something else. You have one power cord. These are one of the only devices that lets me sleep well at night when I'm traveling because it's easy for the kids to watch TV on them because of the HDMI ARC connections. But there is an awful lot of technology jammed into one box here. And if I think about how quickly things have changed with Weem since it started, that concerns me a little bit. Because what does life look like 4 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, especially if you're spending $3,300 on one of these things? All these are Class D too, so you have DAC chips, the streaming software, hardware, all on these boards. If something goes wrong, maybe you can get them repaired. But if something goes wrong 5 years from now, I don't know if you're going to get it repaired. These things might end up in the garbage. Hopefully Cambridge has some continuity in its design, so if something does go wrong, they could change out a board and send it back to you, but that's not happening with the Weem Amp Ultra. I would feel a lot better about these products if they had streaming modules that included all the chips, all the digital to analog converter chips on one thing. And if there's a big update with hardware, then you could pull that one out, put a new one in. I think NAD may do that with Bluesound OS, but that would make me feel a lot better. When I'm listening to a system, it's through a really good integrated amp or it's through separates. That way I can add whatever streamer I want and whatever digital to analog converter I want, PhonoStage, etc. I'm a crazy audiophile though that likes to pick out each component separately. And for my family, the streaming integrated amplifier lives in where the kids watch TV because it's not my first choice for listening to music. It is my first choice for listening to music quickly, but when I'm listening with intent, normally not on one of these devices. That might not be for you. You may not like convenience. You may like complexity. You may like a rat's nest of cables behind your rack. I kind of do. What does that say about me? I want to hear your thoughts though. Do these things scare you away? Like the streaming integrated amplifier? Are they all going to be in the trash 7 years from now? Or have you had an experience with something that's loaded up with tech and you're still using it 7 years later? Makes me a little bit nervous. I guess a good question is, does anybody have a Sonos amplifier from 7 years ago that's still rocking and rolling? The problem is these things have screens now. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a nervous Nelly. Put it in the comments. If you like this video, you can check out the individual standalone video for the Weem Amp Ultra right here. And then if you want to go back in time a little bit, check out the Evo 150 DeLorean edition video I put right here. It's got a bunch of cool B-roll and stuff. That was a fun video to make. So don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen maybe through one of these awesome streaming all-in-one amplifiers with a screen and fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.